How's it going, everybody? It's me, Shane, and I'm here to give you another Yashahime Princess Half Demon episode review and recap. Today's episode is episode 33, Mayonaka, the Visitor. So, before I get done, before I get started with telling you about what happened in here and everything that's going on, please, if you're a first time visitor here, please remember to give me a subscribe, hit that like button, and hit me up with a comment. And even if you think this isn't your first time visiting, do all those things. They help me out, and I deeply appreciate it. So, again, sorry this is getting out kind of late. I try to do these timely, but it's the holidays. What can you do? We get a quick little recap of when Moroha was fighting that full moon raccoon dog demon crap thing. And she did that reverse backlash wave, taking its little raccoon energy and with the little thing. It's a crimson backlash wave, whatever. It makes a little raccoon dragon thing. What always struck me was at the end of the episode, we just get two weird faces like, oh no, from her and from the stupid raccoon thing, Mama Mima, Mama Mia, Papa Poopa, whatever his name is. I don't care about him. But when he does that, we see the dude, he does a technique and goes world reversal, which just flips, inverted everything, and turned the attack back on her. That would have been a lot better thing to see at the end instead of just, no, just show us what happened and then leave it on the cliffhanger like that. Have him go world reversal, and she goes, what? And he goes, huh. That would make sense. Anyway, the attack sends her and Takachiyo flying because she goes in the air, hits Takachiyo. Hachi has to fly away to get to them. And then after, what I noticed after our intro song, during the eye catch moment, it's Sasuna trying to wake up Toa. Because I don't know if I've been fully paying attention. I do remember seeing, like, Satsuna asleep, and then Moroha asleep, and then, Toa trying to wake her up. But now it is Sasuna's awake, trying to wake up Toa, and we have Moroha still napping, all on top of Kirara, by the way. So now we're back with Riku and Toa and Rion, and he goes to the river, splashes his eyes, and Toa's like, "What's so what happens?" He says, we don't have to worry about Kira and Maru being able to know where we are anymore." And Toa's super sad about it, which you should be, because this is exactly your fault. And he says, "Don't worry about it. He can always sense her through her presence. It's like she has a presence of flowers." And she's like, "What?" And Rihanna's like, "Yeah, you smell like lavender." And she's like, "Oh, it's my Hendo cream," which it's lavender. It's supposed to turn dry skin to not dry skin. It's hand cream, people. You know what hand cream is. And Riku, he takes some of it, puts it above his eyes, and his eyes are all sparkly purple. And she's like, "How about now?" He's like, "Oh, I can sense you even more now. You're the only thing I see, Toa Sama." And Toa is all, she's blushing, like super legitimate blushing. And Rion tells him, shouldn't tease young girls. And to my surprise, Riku's just like, I really wasn't teasing though. Okay, I see what you guys are doing. Riku's probably gonna die. I mean, come on. Come on. Shishomaru didn't get with Kagura. There's no way Toa's gonna get with Weirdo Mick Blind Eye now. I can't wait to see if people rage from me saying that in the comments. Probably not, but I still think it's funny. Anyway, we're back with Sasuna, who's cutting down more bamboo logs, and people are picking them up, and she's saying, as much as I'm cutting this bamboo, I'm not going to be able to cut. I haven't been able to cut a single thread. How am I going to save my mother? Which I don't know if she used a very soft form of that in the language. It seemed kind of awkward reading it, but I'm like, I get what she said. I can't save my mom, but she's like my mother. I can't save my mother. I get it. And Sasuna looks super concerned. Kohaku comes up, he's about to talk to her. She's like, I get it. I know I need to bond with my weapon, the Yukari no Tachikiri. He's like, no, you don't have to keep cutting bamboo. But they cut a lot of it. And the other demon slayers, they're putting it together, bundling it together. They're making kind of like a stronghold. It was surprising to me as I watched it, but I'll reveal it right now. Not only do they make like a fortress, front part, they make a long, narrowing area, which excuse me, which Setsuna and Hisu were supposed to lead them down there, riding on Kirara. And while everyone's saying, we can handle the Flame Bulls like this, Kohaku says the real problem is Mayonaka. The leader says they can't. They put up a barrier. The village guy, who seems like something's off about him, says they put up a barrier, which they have a shaman doing all his shaman crap, trying to keep the grains from being sensed or whatever they're doing with their barrier. And they're just asking that they don't cause trouble with Mayonaka, because somewhere down the road might try to attack them. And when Satsuma's kind of pondering this, Hisu has to tell her, he's heard that, is it demon gods and spirits tend to curse you if you challenge them foolishly. And so she's like, okay, she gets it. But meanwhile, Takachiyo is bitching and moaning about Moroha being asleep because, new and improved my butt. How about it do? Shut up. You asked for her help. Shut up. Now, I bet he doesn't pay her either. Just calling it now. I bet he doesn't pay her. Anyway, him and Hachi are eating fish, and he's asking how long she's gonna be like that. Well, she needs to sleep she's gonna sleep for an entire day, so she'll be like that until the evening of the next day, which Hachi doesn't want them to miss the ceremony with the young lord, obviously Takachiyo's younger brother, and that's cutting it very, very, very close. And of course, he says she's useless help, and I'm like, you shut your mouth. Don't say a bad thing about Moroha again. Alright? And of course, the raccoon dog people, they're using that weird eye thing to look around, which I don't know why you didn't use it when you're trying to fight her. Who knows? But back in the north, what's this guy's name? Mayonaka, he's coming forward. And that's not the part that comes up yet. We have Goro, the guy who is, not wearing a shirt. Same shit, same way that he's in the snow not wearing a shirt, guys. But not wearing a shirt. He's buried one of the bulls, the flame bulls. And when Satsuna's kind of helping build everything, she comes down. She's like, I'm kind of surprised. Only her and her sister do something like that. And she asks if he's from around here. He's like, originally he was, but he left when he was a child. And he says, man, you really smell nice. She mentions the lavender hando creamu. I don't know if they're actually advertising for something like that in Japan, but if they are, congratulations. So, Mayonaka's coming. He demands the treasure. Says, I'll let all of you live if you just give me the treasure. Come on. And this dude just raised 2 fingers. This dude is he's actually one of the cooler characters we've met, because all he did was just raise his 2 fingers to the sky. Hundreds of these flame bulls just come out from behind him. We see their eyes first. He just tells them to go forward. So now we have this strange moment that it took me a minute to realize what was going on until I saw the winding curves, because we have Satsuna with Hisu on the back behind her with. They're both on Kirara. I told you they led them through. They went over the barrier and then through the doors, I guess, to get the bulls to cram on through and follow through there. So as they're going through this, this trench path like it's Star Wars, all the other Demon Slayers are just sending, snow and stuff to hit them. And they lead them to like this nice little open area that's kind of like a waterfallish. Hisu gets out. He used the Hirai Kotsu, that big boomerang, slings it, knocks some stuff down, and smothers all these bulls. And they did a good job. Excuse me. So the one bull that got buried actually erupted from the ground, ran forward, burned the barrier that the shaman put up, and just went to town on the town. So it's like, this dude was a traitor. But here's the thing, Kohaku sees the flames down there and says, something got through. These other demon slayers, these jackasses are blaming Setsuna because she's a woman. We should have never let that woman here. She's working with the enemy. And he says, like, no. How dumb are you? No. Kohaku's he's just blowing past all this. He's not even thinking about this shit. Just says, hey, we need to get down there and deal with the fire. So of course everyone's going down there. Two of our guys that we know from our demon slayers, I can't remember their name, but they're gonna help with the fire. But then Mayonaka does like the Shishomaru Akuma shadow walk, where like after images, they turn at the raid. Those are excellent reflexes that they have. Unfortunately, this dude can put like make them stop in their tracks without moving his arms, like on some Darth Vader type shit. That's the second Star Wars reference I've made. Hmm. Come swinging in, nothing happens. He ends up covering them with mud, puts them in like mud cocoons. He does it to like a couple other people. And Sasuna comes and she curses him. She's like, "Curse you, Mayonaka." She has that knocking out and she's ready to go. But he can tell that she is a half demon. And from behind her, someone hits in the back, and we see shirtless man. And she's like, "No one's. That's really unusual. This doesn't happen to me." And she passes out. Now, while she's passing out, we see these golden strings and some type of blue pulse, and we hear a woman saying, "I'm going to abandon this village, my lord." Okay, that's obviously, foreshadowing something later, which it is. But then Satsuna slowly awakens. She's like, "So you didn't kill me?" And Mayonaka says, "That's an unusual naginata you got there. It cannot be removed from you." Hmm. And she asked what would happen to the village if she slays him. And he's like, "Nothing's gonna happen. You can, if you want my head, take it." And she's like, "Okay, so why are you attacking them?" And he's like, "I wonder that myself. For some reason, I can't leave this place." She's like, "Well, what do you want?" And he's like, "Honestly," he's like, "Do you want the treasure?" He's like, "Honestly, I don't care about that thing, but it belonged to me." And she's like, "No, it belongs to the original deity that was here." He's like, "Yeah, that was me." Which I called that last week. I'm like, based on how weird this dude acting, they shouldn't have been doing something with that. So I called that. But while they're having this conversation, somebody sneaking around. We can't. I see hair, but I don't really see anything else. But somebody sneaking around, and someone shoots. He has like this high collar. They shoot one of the collars off, and it turns out it's two of the other demon slayers from the other side. They got knives and they got flintlock guns. And then one of the guys starts throwing the knives ninja style. Goro, shirtless guy, takes his little Oni club and blocks them from hitting Mayonaka. And he's like, "Wait, guys," excuse me, blocks them from hitting Mayonaka. And he's like, "Hold on, guys, stop for a minute." And these idiots. So when he tried to tell them he is originally the original village's Mahiruma, that's the original guy's name. He's like, "Goro, the woman has deceived you. We knew we shouldn't have trusted her." I'm so annoyed by that, but at the same time, it fits in the setting where in some was it Southeast Asian doctrines and society, they kind of believe that women take your essence. And if you understand where I'm going with that, they it became over time, a lot of the doctrines started to become kind of anti-women a bit. You have to look into it for yourself. I do not have time in this review to go through those kind of things, but this thing is very on brand for the era and the time period. It's just ridiculous that you betrayed us, person who we don't know. Well, we don't know you either. And the funny part is, Goro has this giant sweat drop. He's like, "Guys, I'm the only traitor here. Just flat out, I'm the only traitor." "Nope, it's that woman. Not you. It's her." So the villagers run up, and the shaman runs up. And all this noise, Maya Naga's like, "All right, done with this." Nice little glowing purple hands. Raises, does the earth no jutsu where he's just putting the mud over them. They have eye holes, and Sazuna just has her knocking out. She's like, "All right, look. Before we get to this is a funny part." So they got eye holes. They're covered up. She's there, and over above head is Kohaku with Hisu. Hisu's always riding shotgun for some reason, and they're calling to her. She's like, "Don't worry about me. I'm good. Just go away." And Hisu's like, "But Kohaku's like, all right, cool. We're gonna put out the fires. But what about her?" I'm gonna have faith in her. I'm gonna trust her. Pew! Kohaku, proving that a time skip can make a character even cooler and even more likable than what they were. He's so much smarter. So much smarter. Granted, he was being manipulated the last episodes I saw, and he was basically a grave soil meat puppet. But regardless of that, at least he is smart. At least he's one of our old school characters that's smart. So, Susumu says, all right, look, are these people not, make sure these people aren't hurt. And he's like, no, they'll be fine once they dry out, right? So she's like, all right, cool. Go ahead and just tell me your story. And here's the funny part: these people don't really have eye holes, air holes. They just have eye holes. So unless they're breathing through that small slit, and unless this stuff breaks fast, I'm like, won't they suffocate? But it does. It does break relatively quickly. So he says you can't trust humans or demons, but you can trust a half demon because you would understand me because he's neither a demon nor a god. They are both in between worlds. So please give him a moment to rant. So in the beginning, when he was there, this dude had blonde, white blondish hair. Because Mayonaka now has black hair, but he has white blondish hair, and he's saying people that were cool. Well, I say cool. People that were nice. He, they were hungry and impoverished, so he used his little grain thing, share with them some of the food because he grew fond of them. And he says like one day, there was a man. He showed up and he was a tax collector from another place, and he had this girl with him. Now I thought we were talking about this. Oh, there was another guy who like was selling mushrooms and stuff, and he had a daughter with him. Wasn't that guy? It was another guy who was working for the daimyo. So, and guess who that guy? And that guy eventually became village elder king. Guess who that man is? He is the current village elder, the guy who we have every right to not trust. His daughter's name was Oharu. So Oharu started visiting the shrine and would pray to him and says, please bless us with food. He's like, I've given you guys enough. And she said, but there's still hungry people, man. Still hungry people, please. And he goes, all right. Gives her the treasure and says, use this, but bring it back to me. Well, he believed he was deceived because her father took it and then hid it somewhere. He disguised himself as a human because without that treasure, he cannot be a local deity. He has to have that in his possession. He disguises himself as a human. He goes walking, and she instantly recognizes him. And he's like, "Hey, I need this back because if you don't have a local deity, a lot of stuff can go wrong. There could be demon attacks. There could be other entities that try to take over. And by keeping that thing, other bad things will happen as well." So she's like, "I apologize. I'll go get it." She couldn't get it because she says "pa," so her dad locked it up and hid it somewhere. So this happens many, many more times. And one of the last times, she comes up crying and says, "I'm going to abandon this village." And he's like, "Okay, they're going to go together, right?" Now, here's the thing. I'm just going to fill in the holes now. Well, I could fill in the holes later because there's some holes in this story. Because obviously it's being told from someone else's point of view. Because I'm thinking to myself, when did you, in the flashback with him, he never said, "Okay, let's leave." She just said she's gonna abandon it. And he says, "Okay, cool." One day he waited for her, and she didn't show up. A lot of this is probably implied that they were a thing, that they were an item, right? And so he left, and he traveled around the world. And he had been gone for decades, and when he came back, the the whole place it wasn't impoverished. It was thriving. It was very rich, but also the woman that he had left and he came back for, she was no longer of this world. She was dead. And he snapped, and his power went out. His power made a bunch of buildings crumble, called out the flame bulls, and they had used hundreds of years worth of energy and magic over a couple of years, and that's what made him just go off. And so, second time he's ever cried, because the first time he cried was waiting for her that she didn't show up. The second time was realizing she was dead and looking at everything they had done. And you know, where am I at here? So he wants to know why, why he's lingering there. He doesn't even know himself, even though Setsuna kind of has an idea. And she asks, but before she asks Goro a question, a ringing goes out. It's from her Nagina. She's saying she believes it's trying to tell her something. So she asks who Goro is exactly. Apparently, he is Mayonaka's actual son. The woman gave birth to him all alone. And Goro steps up and says, Goro's obviously half god, half human. He says his mom had ran after him, but couldn't find him. And after he turned 5, she died, and she died apologizing to him. And Mayonaka goes, "That's pathetic." And then Satsuma just calls his bluff, like, "Really? Then how come you haven't moved on? Why do you keep coming here?" And he's like, "Maybe my heart is my." And this is where it gets way too blatant. He's like, "Maybe the thread of my heart is tied to this place," and this is just so unsubtle. Just, I get what you're trying to go for. It would have been so much better if you would have said maybe there was something that was tying me here, instead of just saying the thread of my God. That's the one thing I hated when going through and reading this the translations for this. Just anyway. Um, now we can see the Yukari no Tachi. We can see this thing vibrate every time it rings, and she says it wants her to sever his fate with whatever's keeping him there. And she's like, okay, what happens if we return the grains to him? Now we have all these people in mud just going like they're trying to talk, but it's starting to crack, so it didn't last that long. And he says even if he got it, he can't return to being a local deity. And doesn't he doesn't even want revenge on the village anyway because their fate is sealed. It's everything's gonna wither away, and the mud's cracking. And Susumu does the anime thing, going, "What do you mean wither away?" Yeah, you know the two neighboring villages. They're two re. First of all, I wish they would just give us a damn key to what these damn words mean. What is to go? What is to gi? What is re? I'm gonna assume 2 miles away. It's gonna assume 2 miles away. So 2 miles away, there's two neighboring villages. Everything is desolate. Everything is just they're suffering from starvation. So he says when the spring comes, everything here is going to be exactly the same because they kept using this thing. If you would have just used a little bit, and over time, you'd have been fine. But no, you had that greedy ass dude that did everything. And so the people get out, and the people say, "Man, this is so sad." And they just they're calling him local deity Sama. He's like, "It's all too late. It doesn't matter." He's just like defeated. Dude is defeated, and um, Satsuma moves forward, and the vibrating, the ring is getting louder and faster. And she's like, "Okay, so again, why are you attacking this place? Why did you come here?" And all of a sudden, we see this golden thread, and this dude is what I mean. It could have been a net. That's how much thread was tied around him, and then just going somewhere else. Now, Satsuma is now in this alternate realm that I don't know. I believe it might be happening in her mind's eye, or maybe it's happening in her mind's eye and she's moving in the real world in real time. I don't know. The effect looked really cool, but she does a weird gas whip, like she does one of those weird things. So it took her back as well, and she's like she's getting the feeling she's not supposed to cut it, but just feel it first. So she runs the Naginata across it. We get flecks of energy coming off. Then they turn green, and now she's in the flashback. She sees when the young woman Oharu says, "You know, I know a human, and this is a human shouldn't be saying this to a god, but can you just will you have me? Will you take me?" Basically asking, to be with him, have sex, stuff like that, romantically, of course. This is overtly romantic. You can even see it in the flashbacks that come out of his own mouth. And she comes. We see the first time, then we see the second time. She's like, "I'm going to banish her." She asks him, "Can we just run away together?" And he goes, "Okay, we'll run away together." Then we go back to the snowy time where he's sitting there waiting. What we thought was a tear on this side at first wasn't a tear, it was snow hitting and falling. On the left side of his face, he's actually fully crying. Like he thought she basically abandoned him. But if he would have waited just a little bit longer, she ran there and she fell to her knees because he was already gone. I do not understand these moments like this when these weird tragic tales. A lot of them are usually Japanese. Usually, I've seen some Western version of this where a person usually waits there for them. Then another person runs up and this person, I'm like, dude, you're supposed to just be waiting for her. If you always have waited for her, why are you at this particular time like, I won't wait any longer? The best stories would have been it would have been better if he had waited there 3 to 4 days, and then like on the fifth day or so she came, and that's how late she was. That would make more sense to me. But just up and leaving like, well, I guess she abandoned me. Maybe I guess it could be just because of all the they used up all his stuff, they stole his stuff. He can't be a local deity anymore. Maybe I don't know. I don't want to make excuses for this. Anyway, she can see all of this. She says all this is tragic. And she says, all right, this is thread of fate. And we can hear, I don't know what to call him now, Mahiruma, Mayonaka. We can hear his voice saying, can you do this for me, half demon? She, unnecessarily twirls the Naginata, which now has a red blade. And she goes and she cuts it. And that thread just, bing. Now everyone's broken out. And because the world she was in, she's kind of walking on water with the thread of fate and seeing everything. Now we're back in the real world and people are broken out of the shells and people kind of moving forward. String does lead to the golden grains treasure, and the shrine just starts crumbling and exploding. Well, just an explosion of energy, but not an actual explosion. So burst of energy, and behind it was a Horu's body. And even her father's like, oh, Horu. And Goro's like, Mom, Mama. And, you know, what's this guy's name? Mayonaka, Mahiruma, whatever you want to call him. He sees all this and she grabs the golden grain. And now there's a explosion of cherry blossoms from behind her, from wherever the hell this tree came from. And we can hear her voice. She's saying, rejoice, I got the grains for you. I told you one day I would get these for you. And he's like, you did do it. He moves forward, does that little shadow walk. Now he's back in his original form. He has blonde, he has that blonde white hair. He's holding on to her. She's holding on to him. And these two, like Poochie, are descending and they're going straight up into heaven. Goro's crying and, he's happy. He got to see his mom and his father together. And Satsuma wonders if this was for the best because, yeah, now dude is technically dead or whatever. And Goro says, look, his mother has loved, okay, I'm just going to say how he said it. Ma love Pa, he's a country folk. Ma love Pa to the very end. And when it comes to love, there is no wrong or right about it. So he makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, right? Now the village is back to being impoverished, which is weird that it happened in that instant, but it happened in that instant. And the person talking is one of the other demon slayers, the ones that accused Setsuna of being, I guess, some witchy woman or whatever. And we see Goro bowing and thanking them, for everything. And they're saying, yeah, we got thanked. We didn't get paid, we didn't get thanked, and just all of this is bad. And Setsuna very sincerely apologized. He said, "I'm sorry, I cost you guys a lot." They backtrack. They're already walking ahead. They stop walking and move backwards and say, "No, don't worry about it, Setsuna. It's not your fault. Don't even think about it." But you know what? We did say something very important today, and even Hisu's like, "Well, what is that?" And tell him, Kohaku. He goes, "We slayed human greed." Which, excuse me, I guess Kohaku really didn't want to say it because it sounds kind of corny, but they they literally did slay human greed. Sasuna even understood it. Um, and these other demon slayers say, Kohaku, you really trained and raised some good demon slayers. Setsuna, we need to do this again sometime. She's all happy and smiling, and as soon as she turns around, got Kirara on one shoulder, Naginata on the other hand. As soon as she turns, here's another ring, and she's like, what is that? What is this feeling? Episode's over. I know I've gone a lot longer than I usually do, but yeah, I had a couple feelings that I had to get out about this episode. Next episode, we're going to get human form Toa again because she's the only half demon in this group that changes. I guess a quarter demon doesn't have to change. You're already mostly human. But it is our ending here was narrated by Moroha, who says, "Wow, my mom and dad took care of this raccoon demon thing. You know what? Don't worry about it. I'm gonna take care of it, and we're gonna get some good flashbacks of Inuyasha and the crew taking care of this thing. Oh yeah." It's gonna be called Battle of the Full Moon Part One, which Moroha funny enough said, "Wait, Part One? Does that mean there's a Part Two?" Never change Moroha. But yeah, this was I do like the fact that they technically did beat human greed because getting rid of that thing and ending all this crap more or less stop that evil. Well, stop that. Yeah, I guess you can call him evil tax collector, man. I don't get it. Dude was just greedy as hell, and he literally led to the downfall of another village. Of a village and two other villages. His daughter died. She probably died of a broken heart. If we're gonna be honest, died of a broken heart. He has a grandson there that he probably doesn't like. How does your grandson leave or whatever, and you don't pay attention to that? Just the one misstep I don't like is that he stayed there and then he left, and we got no indication that she was gone for like a long period of time. It's just, oh, it's spring and now it's winter. Could he only be there at certain times? The rules don't make sense. And for that, actually, the one thing I do like how Setsuna had to solve an issue to get to this. To get to learning how to use her severing powers and strengthening the bond that she has with her weapon. I can appreciate that. It's just some of the plot holes in this. And I do like that we didn't spend too much time on Toa having, been responsible for men going going blind. But yeah, also Japan, you really gotta stop this whole, bright blonde hair and white hair is good and godly, and having black hair means that you're nothing. Stop that. Really, really stop that. Y'all need to change that shit up a bit. I mean, look at Kikyo. Kikyo was super priestess and had black hair. You can have some demon god or godly characters that have dark hair. Just saying. Anyway, give it a 4 out of 5. Bordering. It's a low 4. It's bordering closer to a 3.5, but I'll give you the 4 because it's the holiday weekend. Let's be generous. Please let me know what you thought of the episode in the comment section down below. Don't forget, give me a like. The likes really do help so we can reach other people, and so, I can know if I'm doing a good job. Tell me if I'm doing a good job. Tell me if you're enjoying this, guys. As always, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. If you're not new here, hit the notification bell that's right next to that subscribe button so you get notified of more videos like this. Remember to share that video so others can see what a great time we're having, what great mood lighting we're having, and all the changes that we're making. And as always, I am very thankful that you guys took time out to spend time with me. Please, be good, be blessed, wash your hands, and as always, be good to yourself, be good to others, and I will definitely be seeing you next time.